next topic, and this one is very interesting if you are someone that potentially enjoyed the incredible storytelling and graphical prowess that we saw in a game called A Plague Tale. And it is we're going to be talking about Asobo Studios. Now, apparently, rumors have been suggested and even printed on paper that they are working on multiple projects, one of which is assumed to be A Plague Tale 2, which would make sense to continue that story. Will it be with other characters? Will it be with the same characters? We don't know, but it's safe to assume that that game, which was both critically successful, but also commercially successful and is in Game Pass. If it's a game that you missed, and you are a gamer who looks over across the fence and says, wow, Sony really has those third-person, story-driven, over-the-shoulder, adult-themed type of games, and I really want to play that on my Xbox. Well, folks, this is the game for you. It's funny because I think back to a couple of, I want to say maybe it's early 2019, Zemi Games, very good friend of mine. He reaches out to me and says, boom, I got a couple of extra codes. And I want to give one away, but I want to give one to you because you're my friend. And he says, which one do you want? Sniper Elite 3 Remake HD, whatever, or a Plague's Tale? And what did Boom the Boob take? Well, Boom took Sniper Elite.
Yeah.
And then a week later, I hear this rigmarole about this A Plague's Tale. And I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's what I passed up on. Oh,
yes, you did.
Oh, what a boob. So I got to tell you, it was one of my top games from last year. It is a masterpiece. But in the article that I pulled from WCCF Tech, one of my favorite places to get gaming scoops and news from, the Bordeaux-based development team known as Asobo Studios has already signed up for 2 upcoming projects with the same publishers. One of those publishers is Focus Home Entertainment, and they're talking about a possible sequel to A Plague Tale: Innocence. The other one, though, is with Microsoft. Now, to be clear, this is separate from the ongoing multi-year support for Microsoft Flight Simulator that they are currently working on. The news was shared in an interview with the studio executives published recently on Bordeaux's newspaper La Tribune. Now, again, there isn't a lot to this story, but we do know that they are working on a secret project for Microsoft. The question is, what in fact could that secret project be? Because look, we know that they have development chops. Again, I want to highly suggest that you check out A Plague's Tale. It is a masterpiece. It is one that many people passed on because it didn't have a big budget for flair. And again, I didn't really know much about it until Zemi could not stop talking about it. And again, once the word got out, once it jumped into Game Pass, people started playing it. People started buying it. People started writing about it and putting up, how-to videos and screenshots and videos of them having the rats eat people at their command, which it does this rat thing that is both creepy and awesome at the same time. So Zemi, I want to go to you first on this because look, when you say Asobo Studios, which I will say immediately, if they have not already signed on with Microsoft, and I know people from Redmond are listening, you got to get Phil on the horn. This is a team that needs to be signed immediately. And you know something? I like to equate, like, you see how Sony does things. Like last year, the biggest sign for Sony was who? Insomniac Games. And they've worked with them exclusively. They brought out Spider-Man 2018, masterpiece. Miles Morales, masterpiece. And they're potentially working on a Resistance 1 remake. We know Ratchet and Clank is coming. It's a win all around for Sony. And now we see Blue Point Studio, right? They've basically worked with Sony almost shoulder to shoulder. And they just released Demon Souls, which to Joe, I mean, you put 500,000 hours into the game. It's a masterpiece. Again, I suck at it, but it's still a masterpiece. They should be with Sony, and I like to think that what Asobo Studios has quietly done in their last two releases is go from one side of the planet with an over-the-shoulder adult theme type of story, then to release a game that's totally different in Microsoft Flight Simulator, which, by the way, we saw running at the Game Awards on the Series X. And it's two different genres. Both games look incredible. Both games did well and are doing well and will do better when it's out next summer. For you, Zemi, first of all, is this a studio that needs to be added to the already stout list of 23 first-party developers? And what do you think they're working on?
I guess to answer the first question, if Asobo wants to be acquired, then I say absolutely, Microsoft, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, DM them something, like slide into their DMs, get them interested. I don't know.
Do you like me? Yes, no.
Send a note underneath the table.
Yeah,
Y for yes, N for no.
Yeah, check yes, check no. Yeah, I mean something, right? I mean that's if they wanted to get acquired, because a lot of the times we're talking about these studios like, oh, Microsoft should get them, and we don't even have any idea if this studio even wants to be acquired, right? But of course, if they did, then absolutely Microsoft would be a little, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs if they didn't. And I am absolutely excited about, A Plague Tale 2. That was my game of the year for 2019. That is a game that you're going to drop everything else. That's a drop everything else game just for that. But as far as, what they could be working on for Microsoft, I mean, really, it could be anything, right? They've shown us that they are extremely, extremely talented with, a mature, adult-driven, third-person PlayStation-like game with A Plague Tale. And they've shown us that they are able to make something so massive and brilliant as Flight Simulator. So, they definitely have the chops to go out and do new things. So, it could absolutely be really anything. For me personally, I really hope that it is a mature, adult-driven, like PlayStation-like game, because I know I can play those on PlayStation, but it's just really nice to be able to get that experience on my Xbox and unlock achievements and have fun, on the Xbox with those types of games as well. But if I was going to put money on the table and call a bet of what they are doing, I would say that they are creating the next Quantum Break game. They did work previously on the first Quantum Break. This is a genre that matches their skill sets perfectly. A Plague Tale is a great example of that. There are still plenty of people that would love to see a second Quantum Break, myself definitely included in that. And Microsoft does own this IP. And I don't know if it's similar to the whole Alan Wake thing, but possibly if they don't do anything with the Quantum Break IP, they may lose it to Remedy like they did with Alan Wake. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I did research, and Microsoft Studios do own the IP for Quantum Break. Yep. So for me, I think that it just makes the most sense for all of those reasons for it to be Quantum Break. And I really hope it is.
Well, I mean, look, the thing is this, to your point, Quantum Break is, and I'll say this, folks, it's a game that if you passed on it because it was running at 720p when it released, and you enjoy Remedy told stories, or B have been barking that you want more mature titles that are very similar to what you find on PlayStation, and you skip this, go boo yourself. Literally, get someone to boo at you. And then,
what if you played it and you didn't like it?
Then you didn't.
Well, I mean that's okay.
Oh, okay.
We can have different opinions.
I thought you were like,
I mean, I'll just lose a massive amount of respect for you, but that's okay.
All right, lose that respect.
Look, I do want to say this again, and I really do mean this. Not every game is for every gamer. We are all aware of that. Some people are going to fall in love with a game for a specific reason, while others will look at the same game through the same lens and be like, just kind of not my bag. Perfect example. I thought I could find my way around enjoying the Gears Tactics game. I could not.
Right. Right.
I could not. I played maybe about 35 minutes of it. I thought that graphically, the story being told, it just looked beautiful. The CG movies were what you would expect. It's just I thought I could get into it, and I just can't. It's just not for me. But I'm enjoying the Hivebusters DLC as much as I've enjoyed any Gears in the last X amount of years. So there you go. But Quantum Break is in Game Pass. Quantum Break is a game that takes advantage of your new hardware. And if you want that story, that adult themed story, I think you should give it a shot. And to your point, Zemi, if Remedy isn't going to do it, my God, having this developer do it, having Asobo potentially take the reins in telling their version of a Quantum Break, could it be a reboot? Could it be, could it be an extension of the story? Could it be a side story? We don't know. It is certainly a good pick.
Well, and like I said, Asobo did work on the first one. They did work on the first one with Remedy, and Microsoft does own that IP.
So there you go. And you know something? Why the heck not? Why not take advantage of someone that's worked with Remedy, see what they can do in those PlayStation type titles, and make an exclusive? And you know something, folks? Let's get the chat involved. We have over 400 people here. How many people in this chat want to see a Quantum Break 2? Put a 1 for that. And if you're not in, if it's not your bag, put a 2. So let's get people involved. Archimedes, we're going to go to you. Actually, you know what? We're going to go to you next because you answered first with a whopping gigantic or ginormous 1. For you, Asobo is a studio that is quietly becoming something that a lot of people need to take an interest in. What worries me is exactly that point. They are a studio that people are going to start taking a look at because of what they did with Flight Simulator, what they did with A Plague Tale, and which we now know worked on Quantum Break. They have the chops, and if Microsoft doesn't, get in there, man, it'd be really sad if someone swapped them up and they could not make games for the Xbox platform anymore. First of all, what do you think that they're working on? And more importantly, do you think that they should become a first-party studios sooner than later?
Definitely. I've been saying that in my videos for a while now. Whenever the topic comes up, which studio should be bought next by Microsoft? My first answer is Asobo. Adding up on that, they didn't just work on A Plague Tale and the Flight Simulator and Quantum Break. They also worked on Recore. As a support studio. So I think there is a close relationship with Microsoft as a support studio, even as a lead studio now in the Flight Simulator. And look at the technology that they used in a Flight Simulator. It's incredible that such an independent studio can deliver and develop such an incredible technology. Look at the Blake's Tale. Besides, you are 100% right. The game is incredible from story and gameplay mechanics. But when I booted it up for the first time, I thought, okay, this is an Unreal Engine game. No, it's not. They developed their own engine for that game. And look at that game. It is gorgeous. An independent studio that can develop an engine on their own with such a high quality and in parallel develop the game with all its storytelling, that there is a ton of talent there. And I think maybe one of the sentences you said first is right. They might not want to be acquired. But if they want to be acquired, Microsoft definitely should buy them. It's such a talented studio, so much potential there. What else to say?
Well, what I do want to add to your fantastic point is that yes, if they do have a good working relationship with Microsoft, and they seem to be that kind of a studio that fits the criteria to being purchased by Microsoft. And again, it's just they have been a support studio for a lot of their games, and my goodness, would it be incredible to get a Quantum Break 2? I mean, I listen. I'm a bit of a trophy / achievement whore. I'll be the first one to admit it. That game, I got 1,000 out of 1,000, and I do not regret trying to get that 1,000 out of 1,000. It was a game that I was heavily invested in. Again, I understand that maybe it ran at 720p, but even at 720p, quite frankly, it looked pretty damn good.
I thought so.
And I think that if you missed that game, check it out on the new hardware. It looks and runs. My God, it's incredible. Joe, let's get to you next on this. Asobo Studios. Again, they seem to be that kind of a studio that fits the criteria for being purchased by Microsoft. We've seen studios that work closely with Sony, so Sony protecting their own brand by bringing in the Insomniacs, potentially bringing in Bluepoint, which we hear is going to happen next year. Do you think that Asobo Studios should be one of those teams that join Microsoft? Because it would be a big sign, in my opinion. And more importantly, what do you think they're working on?
So I think I forgot who said this, but we are about to enter the age of consolidation of studios in a major way. We saw it with Codemasters yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
EA has announced that they purchased them for $1 billion.
Yes.
We are going to see more studios being bought out, even some publishers being bought out, as scary as that does seem, at least for me. So this is something I expect. Asobo is a really great studio. They've worked closely with Focus Home Interactive. So the one thing that I would think if I'm Asobo is, I have a relationship with Focus Home. I have a relationship with Microsoft. Which one has given me the more creative freedom? If I'm not mistaken, they are working on, if I'm not mistaken, they are working on this weird like French Revolution cyberpunk-esque game for Focus Home. So I don't know. I would like to see them, whatever they do, I would like to see. Plague Tale was on the short list. And when we did the Trophy Room Awards last year, they dominated a lot of it. So it's a really great game. People need to go out there and play it. Whatever they do, I just want that. I want that storytelling, because I really think they did stealth really well in that game. And I really like at the end, they gave you the, okay, you've been getting beaten this whole time. Now it's time to start throwing some punches. And man, you throw some freaking punches in that game.
Yeah, you do.
So,
you do.
I'm just happy that they're getting the recognition that they very much deserve. And I really love when we hear stories of like these small developers that like finally get their chance. So like for me, I don't want them to make another Quantum Break, because I want them to make their own story. They're capable of doing it. That's what I want. I want them to tell the story they want to tell. So yeah, that's it.
I mean, listen, it's a good point. It's a good point, and I think that if you look at Microsoft, how they are, look. I'll say this. I don't know this. I'm completely going off the reservation with this one, but I think it's safe to say that there's a reason why there's an influx of incredible talent trying to work at Microsoft. And I don't think it's just the paycheck. I think, sure, that could be potentially a part of it. But I think it's the way that they do development that might be considered different than many of the other big publishers, like the EAs, like the Activisions. Now, I'm not going to bring Sony into the conversation because we know what they do. But I'm just saying that there's a certain way that Microsoft is doing their development. You don't hear any people crying in closets, and you don't hear people running to Jason Schreier to drop a bomb of abuse and miscommunication. So if Asobo wants to have that kind of potentially design freedom, then signing with Microsoft might be the best way, because we know what happens when you sign with them. The money truck backs up. and they let you do what you want to do as long as you're going to tell a good story. And we know that they can do that. So I'm hoping that we hear they're one of the, because again, we do know more signings are coming. Satya Nadella said so. And I think that what they're doing, and the reason why we haven't heard anything now is because it's the holidays. We're at the end of the year. The pandemic is still going on. And I think that once they get past the actual ink to paper with ZeniMax, once that deal is done, you're going to start to see they're going to be a little bit more loose with putting out with, okay, we just signed these X amount of studios, adding more. Because we have heard the rumors, this is unofficial, that they want a total of 30 before they're done. Well, they're at 23. So they have to figure out what 7 is going to be added to Microsoft Game Studios, if in fact that rumor of 30 is true. Now, I know people go, well, just a second, boom. You don't know. Well, when I said, and I backed up Clobrio when Clobrio said 20 in 2020, people were like, nope, you're a lunatic, boom. And he's a lunatic too. It's not going to happen. Well, they went 3 above it. So it was 23 and 20. So we were right at the end of the day. I do want